For a long time, I was scared to share my true color, to be who I truly was. I was hiding in the story I was reading, fearful of what people would think about me. But this ends now. I have stopped running. I decide to accept my diversity. Today, I will share our story of neurodiversity and mental health awareness. Welcome on the ADHD Melly Show. Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I know it's been a while I've done a show, but my life is a little bit crazy right now, and I almost didn't do a show today, but Melissa came to me and I said, do you remember that we have a schedule today? I was like, oh my God, I forgot. But at the same time, like I said, my life is just crazy. And I had exam at the same time. So everything is happening at the same time, and it's quite hard. And today I got, that I don't know yet if I'm going to have to move from my apartment because, my they want us to move because they want to move in, and it's a little bit sketchy, etc., etc. And I got a letter today saying that the judge was like sick and she was not able to get the judgment yet, but she's back. So a lot of things happen mostly this week, and I'm just so overwhelmed about that. And at the same time, I wanted to do the show today because it's going to change my minds a little bit. And at the same time, Melissa is very amazing. She was a sponsor of the last edition of the Neurodiversity Awareness event and also a speaker. So I wanted to bring her in because she has a lot of things to say about neurodiversity in the workplace, and this is a subject that I need to be talking all the time. Okay, it's something that people need to talk about because it's hard when you're a neurodivergent person to find a job, to even study, or just being integrated in a group. It's very hard for us because we don't know how the people are going to act towards us, and we are so used to rejection all the time. So I have to admit that I do feel like that as well, that I feel like I'm not sure that if I'm going to fit in, and I don't want to put all myself in the relationship because, workplace is a relationship. And yeah, so we're going to talk about that today, and I'm going to introduce you to Melissa right now.
Hi.
You.
First of all, I'm sorry to hear about the fact that you're gonna have to move. It's
We
another,
don't know yet. We don't know
yeah,
yet. But I hope we are not, because like I said, it's a little bit sketchy, the landlord and stuff like that. So I have good feeling that we are going to stay, but we never know what the judge is going to say about it. But
mm,
if the judge want us to move, is because they like sketchy landlord. That's what I have to say.
and then we'll cross our fingers, our legs, and braid our hairs to make sure that all the good
Yeah.
energies are on your side. And yeah, well, I'm glad to be here today. It's my first English podcast, so it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, so we are both French speakers. So I always say that sometimes we have accents, and that's okay. And
That's
yeah.
good. That's it. It's also
So
part of diversity, right?
exactly. So introduce a little bit yourself, what you do with your life, etc., etc.
Sure. Okay. So my name is Melissa. I have my company called Candea, and what I do is promote neuro inclusion within workspace. Why? Well, because it is one way to fight this crisis of shortage that we're going through right now. So by being more inclusive, you're able to attract more people, keep your people in your company more motivated, and also making sure that we can translate this message of inclusiveness through employer branding and HR marketing. So for me, those two go hand in hand, because if you're inclusive but nobody knows about it, then you're kind of not being able to shine through this culture. So this is what I do. I am also a coach. I did my certification, and I do specialize with neurodivergent folks, because the brains, we can see where we're going together, when sometimes other coaches are going to be like, I don't understand where you're going. So it's easier this way. So I also do this. Why? Well, because when we talk about neuro inclusion in the workplace, usually coaching and co-coaching is such a great way to find a safe space for trying out tips and tricks and making up tools that work for us.
This is the reality of life, okay? I'm going
It's
to have to
great.
end. I'm after going to blow out my candles because I don't want my cat to get burned. Give me.
Oh, yes, please do. Go.
Sorry about that. That's the reality of her life.
That's it.
Sometimes she does that, and I think she's going to go up. She's a little bit crazy. That,
Yes.
by the way, is Callie. She's my zoo therapist.
Oh,
So
she
meet
looks so
her.
cute.
Sorry for interrupting you, very.
It's okay. It's a good kind of interruption. Cats are always good sources of entertainment. So yeah, so basically that's what I do. And when you were saying that we need to talk about it, we really do need to talk about it. Yeah, those drinks are great. I love them.
Yeah, they are great. Zero DB, thank you so much for sponsoring this show, by the way.
I should have gotten my can before we started. I didn't think about it. They are really
Totally
good.
fine.
So yeah, we need to talk about it because there are so many stereotypes and biases that are going around, which makes the work that we do around awareness so much harder. Um, and that's why we need representation from people like you, from what I'm trying to do, from other people, from all the speakers that were at the neurodiversity awareness event, also to break those stereotypes down and make sure that people see neurodiversity in a more brighter light. So basically, yeah, that's what my main goal with what I do is to bring awareness around the fact that what we see on TV is often not quite realistic, doesn't quite well represent most of what our community lives, and also to break down the fact that every time, because I'm an entrepreneur also, when you have your own business, you have to do your sales pitch or your elevator pitch, and whenever I try to explain what I do, I would say maybe 60% of the time I get the feeling that I'm talking like a deer in front of headlights to someone, like, I do neurodiversity inclusion, and then they're like, oh, like and then they're gonna go towards, most of the time, thinking that I am a philanthropic organization, that I'm a nonprofit, that I work with people that are heavily have heavy disabilities. So then there is a lot of debunking to do around, saying, like, it's 20% of the population, and many of them are in your workplace already, and we need to do something about it now. So it's the main thing I have to go through, and I'm sure that everybody that listens right now also might relate to what I'm saying.
Yeah, and at the same time, you talk about the people that are already on the workplace, but you don't know, maybe they are secretly suffering of needing to work 40 hours a week, but they do because they need to. And sometimes people are more capable to endure suffering, and just
Mhm.
live with that suffering day after day, and they are just good at it. But some people like me, I'm not good with suffering a long term, and so my performance sometimes goes down because I suffer so much and I can't just bear it. Some people can, but I just cannot. And neurodiversity is not one spectrum, it's a lot of things, it's
Mhm.
just not only about ADHD. Some type of ADHD need more, you need more, it's harder for me than somebody else with ADHD. It's not going to be the same ADHD for everybody. Yes, there are some signs that they're the same, but sometimes people have more attentive problems, and some people have learning disability that comes with it, etc., etc. So that's why inclusivity should always be the top priority, because a lot of neurodivergent has a lot of talent, and sometimes they study a long time, sometimes not, but they still have talent because they are great at learning by themselves because we have nothing else to do with our lives because we struggle so much to find a job. And at the same time, even if our brain is neurodivergent, we still need to do something with it. And as a neurodivergent person, I don't like to do the same thing all the time. I get bored very easily. So I learn a lot of little things. So I know a lot of little things. And that puts it down to the thing I know. And yeah, that's why sometimes neurodivergent will be better at working part-time like myself because I feel like I will perform better and maybe I will be able to do the same thing in the same short of time than doing a full-time job. Because when I am hyper focusing, I'm just going to do whatever I need to do and just I'm finished. But the problem with the workplace that are not inclusive, they are like forcing you to finish at 5 because that's how it works. And that's difficult for me to understand and comprehend because if I want to do it in 5 hours, what's the problem in my mind? But that's not how society works. And they're like, because if you thinking it, a neurotypical person, they're going to talk a lot about they're all going to talk. Sorry, another thing. So they're going to talk on. They're always going to talk. They're going to go on Facebook. They're not going to necessarily to be 100% on their work because that's how human brain works. And for us, we want to finish it right now to be gone. And for them, it's okay to just work a little bit there, a little bit then, and not force themselves 100%. But for us, we do 100% and we want to be finished. So it's how the brain is working, right?
That's it. And every brain is different and every profile is different. So even though within the same neurominority profile, so let's say within ADHD, you're going to have the same manifestations that might come at various degrees, but all in all, everybody's different. And the way that people are going to develop tools or ways to work will be different. And especially with ADHD, sometimes you just get bored with the tools that you did and you have to find new ones. And this is not something that usually people are going to think is okay. People are going to be like, well, you found a solution and you can't even keep it up and blah, blah. May it's okay. You can get bored with the way you work and try to switch it up and make it more interesting and try to work up that dopamine with this new tool that you're coming up. And then when it doesn't work again, you find something new. But this is finding ways that work for every person, and every person being different, even within people that are considered or identify as neurotypical. They're all different as well. They're not one monolithic group of neurotypicals.
Yeah.
And when we talk about it in the workplace, the thing is that sometimes having those adaptive measures would change everything. And having a workspace that is that adapts to the needs is going to allow the person to be the best that they can be at work. So let's say somebody needs to always be doing work that is highly demanding on executive functions that are in a situation of disability for that person. That person is going to drain his whole energy trying to just fix or do the thing that is being asked, that is actually the situation of disability, instead of working on the strengths. And when you work with the strength of the person, you will have the ability to reach the higher potential, to be more energized as you work, to bring the best in themselves. But this, if I feel like sometimes it's hard to understand for some people, because we are in a society where you are always trying to fix what doesn't work instead of trying to work with what's good. I feel like that's the way that the scholar system is built. And we are in a system, so we need to deal with the system, but sometimes the system can change a little bit around the needs of the people. Because as of today, if we look at the statistics, 84% of people with an invisible disability will mask at work. And this is high, it has a high cost of energy for that person. So that person might be able to mask at work, get the job done, but then be
Mhm.
exhausted when they get home. And then what happens is that if they end up having a burnout, being exhausted, having to leave, people are going to say, well, man, it doesn't show.
Mhm.
You don't look ADHD, you don't look autistic. So if you don't look like you're ADHD or autistic, you're making it up. Is that what you're
Mhm.
trying to understate by what you're saying? Are you saying that what I need to be the best of myself is not relevant because it doesn't show? So these are all words that hurt, and they're not coming
Mhm.
from a bad place, but they have big repercussion on the way a person feels about the validity of the needs. So we need to take this into account because otherwise we're just wasting talent.
Mhm. And not only that, like you said, they're tired when they come home. But if they have kids, if they have a husband, if they have things to do, like going to the grocery, cleaning, and stuff like that, the other person will, the other person that lives with them are have the impression that they are lazy at home, that they just cannot do anything else because they just want to sit down and do nothing after they come back because they're drained, and that can cause some friction in couples and families, etc., etc., and that you don't see that at work. That's why you think everything is fine, but you don't know their family is suffering because they cannot just do everything else. They just go to work, and after 8 hours, their day is done.
Mhm. That's it, and it comes from compensating and
Mhm.
then overcompensating at work. And sometimes you can compensate and overcompensate a certain amount until it becomes too much. And this is something that we will often see with late diagnostic in life.
Mhm.
Let's say like a mother that, and I do include myself in this category. I was okay. I mean, I had challenges, but I could mitigate them quite easily until I had a child. This was the tipping point for my executive functions that I couldn't deal everything all together. I had the mental load of a baby, of the household, of my work. I also had a promotion at the time, and it all just, that point was everything became too much at once. And this is something we can see, that we get that threshold that actually um, makes the person goes get the diagnostic. Or you have a kid and the kid gets the diagnostic, and then you feel like, oh well, I feel like I was like that when I was a kid, because there is a genetic component. And then you go get the diagnostic. And the thing is that when you know, it is hard to go back to when you didn't know, and
Mhm.
when you compensated without knowing that there was actually a real cause for um, this difficulty
Mhm.
that was happening. So sometimes, yeah, it doesn't show. Sometimes you compensate, and at one point you can't anymore.
Mhm. Exactly, you're so tired, and you get depressed sometimes. Like you said, depression can come, anxiety can come. The problem when you have anxiety, it's hard for you to go on meds because it's going to boost your anxiety that you already have. But the
Mm,
anxiety is there because of your ADHD. I know I'm in that case, and it's very bad right now. And they like say you have to continue because it's going to get better with time, which is probably real. But at one certain moment, you're like, oh my god, what did I did to myself? It's like, why? Everything's going bad at once. When you get the diagnosis, or when you get medication or any therapy or something like that, everything goes bad for a while. And I'm in that moment right now, and I'm just, why everything's happening at the same time? There's 12 months in the year. Why everything in October?
I
Why?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. Plus, you add the time blindness on this, where it just feels like it's everything all at now, and you don't feel like it has an end to it. And
Hmm.
okay, I feel the time blindness very strongly as well on this.
Yeah, I have the impression it's only 2 days in October, 3 days in October, but would it end after that? But at the same time, probably not right away. That
No.
you still have a long way to go, and it quite sucks. And the same time, the same at workplace, because sometimes you cannot mask as well, and you get just fired, and when you
Mm,
get fired over and over and over, it sucks, because when you go to interview, you show all your skills and stuff like that, you seem so wonderful, and when you're in the workplace, after a while, you're so tired because
mm.
you have to do 5 days a week, and the first days are fine, but when it's Thursday and Friday, it's like everything's like collapse, and you just cannot deal with it anymore, and that sucks.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Plus, if you bring with yourself all this trauma that you might have
Mhm.
had at previous workplace with bullying and toxic workplaces,
Mhm.
it does add up, and it prevents people from actually feeling safe in the workspace, and building the trust between a manager in a culture that is inclusive and a culture that is willing to help and
Mhm.
to listen can be a little bit hard for somebody that did go through all this hardship beforehand, because the trust needs to be built, and it doesn't build
Mhm.
you can't build it overnight.
Mhm.
um, Plus, we hear I hear stories all the time. People reach out and they tell me what they go through, how employers will quite quickly resort to calling it excessive measures to be able to cut the work contract when somebody comes
Mhm.
with a diagnostic. So I hear those stories, and I can't say that it is safe to disclose a
Mhm.
diagnostic at work. I can't tell people to do that. I can only tell people to try to identify the needs and identify the ways that works best for them, and to work more around strengths. And this is what I tell managers as well. We don't necessarily need to have people disclose or to try to I call it do a Pokemon chase around the workplace to try to find all the neurodivergent people that we think are neurodivergent,
Mhm.
to help them. Just working with the strength usually is a good way to build trust, to help the person build confidence, and to work around areas that are actually creating energy for the person instead of just draining the energy.
Mhm.
But this takes a lot of work and conversation around the reality of the neurodivergent people that is going through some hardships too. Um, so hearing those stories, sometimes I feel like we are going forward with the movement of inclusiveness and neurodiversity, and sometimes I feel like, oh my god, am I wearing pink glasses because I hear horror stories. And I have this story that I always carry with me when I do trainings, is the story of Jane. And so this Jane Doe, who was working at a new workspace, at a new workplace. She in the story, she is autistic, she has ADHD, and she also has dyslexia. So she asked for first accommodation around having software to help her with the spelling and reading and everything. So that's okay. They give it to her. She asked for another accommodation. Again, it's okay. But then the third one, she asks, she works in an open space.
Mhm.
So having to always find a new place to go and work. Sometimes the fluorescent lights on the ceiling are too bright,
Mhm.
people moving around and everything. So
Mhm.
she asks for, as an accommodation, to have a workspace that is attributed to her, where she could have her desk lamp, and so she could have her routine, and that would be her
Mhm.
workspace. And that was the tipping point where it was too much for the employer. So
Mhm.
these kind of measures, usually when I tell them in training, employers and managers are going to be like, well, that's terrible. Why did they terminate her job? Because I mean, it's not that big of a deal. You just give her a workspace, and it's a very
Mhm.
easy measure. But the thing is that the story of Jane Doe is inspired by true events.
Mhm.
And these kind of events, I hear them often. And
Mhm.
this is where I feel like if I tell the story, people are gonna feel like it was not an excessive measure, that it was easy to accommodate.
Mhm.
But then you hear stories where it's not. So bringing awareness around also the fact that being neuro inclusive is not, it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need
Mhm.
to be very costly. Most of the time it's just about being agile and flexible, which are terms that are quite used by companies, but are they truly lived? That's where we need to make sure that we follow with the values that we put forth as a company too.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I remember I got fired because I was just not able to do the most difficult task in the afternoon. I had the impression that they always ask to do the easiest things in the morning, and I was like, in the
Mhm.
afternoon, it was the hardest part of the job, and I was like, why can you not switch that? And yeah, it was quite hard mentally, and
That's it. So
I
for
was,
you, it was really hard, but for the employer, it was not that hard to implement.
yeah. Yeah, I guess. It seemed that
Probably.
it was because they just let me go, and it's only one example. And it wasn't an open space like the worst. I mean, it was like the fashion is to be open space to talk to teammates, but at the same time, it just sucks, because people are always moving. And I was near, the printer, so it always did
Oh, it's
some
the worst.
noise.
Printer and bathroom. You don't want to be next to that kind of
Yeah, and I was
spot.
just next to the printers, like, what the heck, are you
Oh.
kidding me? And yeah, so it was not fun at all. And yeah, and at the same time, I'm happy to not work there anymore, but at the same time, it just sucks because I'm just scared of working again because I don't want this to happen again. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know what to say to employers because I don't want to tell them everything of my life neither. But at the same time,
No.
I don't want to scare them as well, because they are so scared of neurodiversity.
That
People are
is,
so scared. So.
and it's silly because we shouldn't be scared. I mean, it is one person out of five. It is so
Hmm.
many people. It's sometimes people that don't even know that they are. And the other fun fact around all of this is that neurodivergent profiles are overrepresented when we talk about
Hmm.
entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurs are there's a lot of them that are neurodivergent. So
Hmm.
they go and they make their own trajectory for their career because they feel like they can't fit elsewhere, that they can't be the best of themselves, or they can't be
Hmm.
as creative as they wish they could be. So why can't we be, I mean, why can we be great entrepreneurs but not be great employees if when we work for our own we can put together our own adaptive measures and make sure we strive to the best of our competence? When in work we are stopped by the rigidity of the
Hmm.
norm of it has always been done this way so it should fit. But the fact is that we're not in factories anymore. We don't, I mean, there are still jobs where it's a factory for sure, but the
Majority
the
of the job they're not, yeah, they are just.
but when we work with our brains
Hmm.
in this knowledge economy, I mean, we don't get uh, a broken wrist, or but we can have it's like a, I don't have it in English, mais comme une tendinite du cerveau. It's the same thing. If you do the same movement and you don't do it properly, you're gonna end up not functioning as well cognitively. Um, but we need to think about it this way too. If we work with our brain, we need to take care of our brain.
Absolutely, we need that because it's very hard to just. Yeah, and at the same time, having a business is fun and everything. I like it, but at the same time, you need to have money sometime to start, and sometime when you don't have the money and nobody wants to borrow to you because your credit score is so low, because you have to put all your expense in your credit card to just survive because you cannot find a job, it's quite hard. I'm in that situation, and
Mm-hmm.
I only can rely on sponsors because nobody wants to borrow to me, and it's understandable. But at the same time, if I had a little help, I probably would be able to make more money. And like you said, it's not because we're working with neurodiversity that we should have a non-profit. I want to
Mm-hmm.
make profit. I want to help people at the same time. And it's okay to be a normal business that wants to make a lot of money, and that's what I want to happen with the neurodiversity awareness event and that podcast one day. And that's my ultimate goal. But sometimes it's so hard when you have to start with nothing and you have to work by your own self because you have nobody that can really help you because they want to get paid, which is normal, and you're just
Mm-hmm.
like alone to do everything. And we have when you have ADHD, 1 hour equivalent to 3 hours when you are like working, and that's something else that I just learned.
Yeah.
That yeah, so if you work 1 hour normally, even with meds, okay, it's the same. It does not really change. It does change for your concentration, but it doesn't change for your mental fatigue, really.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 hour equivalent to 3 hours. So when you do an 8 hour job, it's like if you work like 12 to 14 hours a day, and that's normal that you don't want to do anything else when you're home, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it has to be adaptive, and yeah, you should also have part-time jobs or work that are done by what you need to be done, you know? So if you finish all your work in 5 hours, you should be paid the same because you do the same work as somebody that prefers to do it slowly, you know?
That's it. And this is what we're going to call evaluation and performance by result instead of
Mhm.
evaluation and performance by just
Oh.
processes and the way
Mhm.
that things are done. And you need to stick to the process. May in the end, it is also one of the what you're mentioning about being an entrepreneur is that yes, we can understand the way that we work and try to use the best tools around us to work the best that we
Mhm.
can be. But in the end, I mean, I have some difficulties with some executive
Mhm.
functions and some tasks that I need to do, and I don't still have the money to hire somebody that
Mhm.
is complementary to myself. So until you are able to actually grow and get that help that you need to compensate the areas of difficulty, it is quite the the crunch to try to get there. Um, and in the workplace, this is where, I mean, when the employer has the budget to get themselves trained
Mhm.
for awareness around neurodiversity and neurodivergent profile, when you have the budget to get a coach for somebody in the team that needs support, when you're able to find ways to move around. I mean, the company, it goes into the budget, it is considered training budget. It doesn't impact the employer as much as it taxes the person
Mhm.
itself as an individual. And this is where I feel like the co-responsibility and the necessity of the employer to be a part of the solution and the equation is very important, because as of today, if you manage to have a very inclusive culture and you are able
Mhm.
to give the best environment for people to strive in, you stop wasting that talent, you get the best out of the people that work with you, and you are at an advantage when we talk about the labor
Mhm.
shortage, because you are very attractive and you are able to keep your people. So these are all advantages that in the end, yes, the person that works in a good workspace is going to benefit, um, is going to beneficiate from it, but the employer also does beneficiate from it, and this is where we need to see this as a win-win situation and not as a philanthropic mission.
Exactly, because we need to live as well. Yeah, we can if we want to do like non-profit, not profit. It's okay. You can choose whatever you want, but at the same
Yes.
time, it's not charity what we do, you know. We
No,
need
it's
to
not.
live, and people don't understand that I need to live, you know. It's normal that I charge, etc., etc. It's normal that it's not free, you know. I wish I could give it to you free because I know how much you need it, but at the same time, I try to make my price as fair as possible so everybody can go. And if you want to go to next event May 1st, you can buy your ticket now at the price. So go ahead and buy your ticket now. So yeah, there's no excuse, and I do my best to make everything inclusive, but at the same time, I need to pay my rent, which is always late, and that's the problem. My invoice of school is not paid neither because I'm also a student, and that it's my choice to be a student, but at the same time, I want to learn more about entrepreneurship and etc. etc. So I need that education as well, and because I want to grow, I want to be able to do so much more with my own life, you know, because I hope I'm not going to struggle like that all my life, because that will be a very, very terrible life to live, trust me.
Mm.
And that's not what I want. And I'm sure that a lot of neurodivergent feels the same. And that's problem. They don't feel supported, and when they get the support finally, we just feel, do we trust that person? Everybody said me no, we'll say they say yes, and you're just like so detached because you don't know what's going to happen. At the same time, you're so hurt of everything that happened in your life. And
Mhm.
yeah, that's a process, and it's a lot of abuse, because you're used to it since a child to be rejected. You're like, I'm going to be rejected again. She's just being nice for temporary, and after she's going to figure it out that I'm too much. And
Yeah,
that's very hard
it
to
is.
just live with. Yeah.
It
So
is very hard. Plus, when you add on it, when we talk about intersectionality, I mean,
mhm,
even though I'm neurodivergent, I do recognize the privileges that I have
mhm,
from the skin color that I have, from growing up in a middle class household with a nuclear family that was, stable. These are all privileges that probably allowed me to have it more easily than somebody else. And I do recognize this, and we need to recognize that for other people it is even harder. And it doesn't need to be, because it's mostly based on biases.
mhm.
And if you don't allow people to grow and to prove themselves, they will never be able to build the confidence and to build the experience to prove it.
Exactly. And yeah, if you want to have more information about Candia, I think our website is only in French, but I think you're going to make it in English very
Yes,
soon. Are
it's
you?
already translated. I just need to go in and do it. But yeah, I guess it's one of the things that that asks me too much. That no, actually, that doesn't give me enough dopamine to get
I
there.
can do it. Yo, I'm here. I'm doing website. But I do understand, when you start a business, you're like broke, okay? I know what it is. And everything that you make, you invested in your business, or almost. You pay, maybe paying a rent with it in your food, but that's not. You're not going to buy yourself a big travel with that, you're not.
No.
You want to invest in your business, and that's normal. You want it to grow one day, you just want to charge taxes
Yeah.
and make it grow. So yeah. So like I said, guys, please go buy your ticket of the neurodiversity awareness event. I know it's a little early, but everybody told me that I did a great thing. Most
You
the
did.
people told me that I should start right now. Yes, you don't know who's going to be the speaker yet, but you pay half the price, and it's going to be amazing speaker like last time Melissa was there. And by the way, when you go to that link and you buy your ticket, you can also buy at the same time the replay of the last event as well, so you can watch Melissa's and others speaking at the event as well. I'm sorry the image quality is not the best, but you know what? I hired somebody to film, and I'm so happy
Yes.
about that. It's going to be like television quality and live stream the same, and I'm so excited because last time I didn't the camera I didn't know the camera very well, because that location is always booked, so it's very hard to just test stuff and etc etc. It's going to be the same location because it's perfect location. It's not too expensive neither. The filming is going to cost like double the price of the location, by the way, but at the same time it's an investment that I want to take, and each time that you buy a ticket, you help me pay for that. And if you want to sponsor, you can as well. A lot of things going to change for the sponsorship as well. There's going to be commercial breaks, so you will be able to send me your video of a commercial that you want me to display while the people are waiting the other speaker to speak. So it's going to be more fantastic this way. And yeah, I'm only one ad, and sometimes I have great ideas, right?
Yes. Yes. Because this is one of the strengths of many neurodivergent profiles, to be able to think outside the box, to be very creative. So when you have the headspace to put forth those strengths, then that's where the magic happens, right?
Exactly. It's not always easy, and the first time is not always the greatest neither. But a lot of the form that I asked for people that if they liked it, most of them did like them, and they will come back. So I'm pretty happy that people are coming back for for the next show. The most struggle was the filming. That is not the greatest quality. At least the sound is great, guys. So I
Mm.
also put it on audio sound as well. So if you want to watch it in your car and you don't want to see the the image, you can do it as well. And I cut all the breaks as well, so it's going to be easier for you guys to just listen that way. And also I'm putting more goodies for the sponsors, etc., for the same price, so that's pretty good for them as well. I'm always thinking how to make things better for everybody, because I know it's a business. You if you give you money, you want to have things, and that's totally normal. And I'm making sure that everybody's as happy as possible. But I cannot please everybody anyway, and that's a thing that I have to understand. It's the same as in the workplace. I cannot please everybody. I cannot be the perfect person that everybody wants to have. And that's something that was a struggle, because I was like, people don't like me, but not
Mm.
everybody can like you anyway. So you have to accept that fact as well.
Yeah, if we want to be neuro inclusive, we have to also be inclusive with ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? One thing that I find is nice in the being an entrepreneur and being openly neurodivergent is that I do attract clients that are also neurodivergent. And if I slip on something, usually they're all very inclusive towards me. So usually they don't even notice that I made a little mistake, even though I'm dwelling on myself. So it's good to have a very inclusive network and a client base also. So I guess it's one of the perks of promoting neurodiversity inclusion.
Yeah, exactly. So what I do all the time, I ask my guests to end the show with something they want to say that we haven't talked yet, or etc. So I leave you talk at the last minute. What do you want to say?
Well, I did cover everything, but really, if I can only just bring back the subject and the fact that if we are only focusing on the areas that need to be fixed in the eyes of the norm, uh, we can never access those strengths that are usually glamorized and shown as superhero skills of the neurodivergent person. But it is quite impossible to get access to those strengths when you're always overcompensating. So my message really is to anybody that is neurodivergent or any employer to consider this, to work with the strength of the person and to just find ways that make that person strive and be in their energy zone, and the magic that's going to come out of it is going to be beneficial for everybody.
So thank you, everybody. This month and next month, until I finish school, I'm not going to promise there's going to be a show every Friday, okay? There's going to be at least one a month, but I'm not promising like I always do, like once a month, because I have school, I have to succeed, and they are very difficult class, by the way. And just sorry if I'm not here every Friday. Sometimes I'm not going to say when I'm coming. It's very, like I said, I'm a very rough period, and I'm very proud of myself of making it today as well. And thank you so much, everybody, for being here, and we see you each other again next month, promise. So see you guys soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care of yourself there.
You too.